Have you seen these? Etsy's been pushing title suggestions hard lately, and if you've ever felt buried under these warnings, you are not alone. Too long, low visibility, missing keywords. I feel like every time I open up my Etsy desktop, I just am pummeled with warnings. Warnings on my dashboard, warnings along the menu on the left-hand side, and also warnings popping up on the mobile app. They're everywhere. What's behind all of this? Hi, I'm Carol, retired teacher and Etsy vintage shop owner. I share what I've learned in my experience, though I'm not an expert, and I hope that my experiences will help better equip you for a successful and profitable shop. I've been selling on Etsy now for about 3 years, and I have always tried to make my titles clear, maybe not always so concise, but at least clear and not repetitious, not keyword stuffed. And the person I have in mind for this title is the customer. I don't write my titles for the algorithm because the last time I checked, no one named Algorithm had ever purchased anything from my store. Maybe that's simplifying it a little bit too much, but I've never really gotten hung up on this algorithm thing. I've always tried to write titles for my customers. Now, with this new Etsy title tool, they are suggesting that we really shorten our titles down to just what the item is. And that's not the way I have written my titles in the past. Over these years, I have developed kind of a formula for the way that I like to write my titles. Let me share that with you here. First, I start my title with either vintage or antique, and I don't use antique unless I know for sure that the item is more than 100 years old. As a result of that, I've only ever had one thing that was actually an antique in my shop. But if I do sell antiques, I am going to label them as such. So most of my listings start with vintage. Next, I list the maker, whether it's Fenton or Waterford or Lufton. I have that come next in my title. And then I name the item, what it is, and distinguishing characteristics. And those are not always in a certain order. They might be, I might say silver plate candlestick holder, or I might say Shannon crystal stemware. The distinguishing characteristics and what the item is can be in a different order. It just is whatever sounds good to me when I write it. And then I do like to include some details about what kind of decor this item is best suited for, whether it's cottagecore or colonial or mid-century modern. I know a lot of customers search for their decor styles, and I also want to have that decor style be extremely visible with the item so that if a person is looking for it, they can right away see, oh, this is one of those items. This might go with my decor. And lastly, if the item is giftable, and this is not, I mean, honestly, you could give anything as a gift, but if it's specifically giftable, and these are usually wedding and anniversary type items, I like to also include that. That said, I do also very often mention when I think that an item would be great as a host or hostess gift as well. And my thought with this is to use all of the characters that I'm given to give as much information as I can to my potential customer and let them see all the different ways they can use this item or fit it into their own decor. So Etsy has suggested some changes to titles of items that I have in my shop. And I'm specifically looking at 3 Christmas items. I only have 3 Christmas items in my Christmas shop right now. All of the rest of my Christmas items are going to drop into my shop on September 29th when I reactivate them from last year. I've been working on updating them and they're ready to go. So September 29th, the rest of them will be there. But for now, I only have these 3 items. One of them was an item that Etsy said you don't have to change the title on. The other 2 were items that Etsy wanted me to change the title on. Let's take a look more closely at those items. This vintage Fenton satin glass poinsettia basket, hand-painted holiday decor, was already titled this in my shop. So Etsy did not suggest that I change this title, and I didn't. I just left it alone. You may remember this item from my listings video. Vintage Westmoreland white milk glass basket, 6.5-inch hand-painted Christmas decor, holiday table centerpiece gift idea. Etsy suggested I change this to Vintage Westmoreland milk glass Christmas basket, hand-painted holiday decor. So I changed it. The third item I'm tracking is this vintage Waterford crystal bell, 3 French hens, 12 Days of Christmas, which is the series it's from, an ornament made in Ireland, holiday decor, or collector gift. Etsy's AI title tool wanted me to change this to vintage Waterford crystal bell, 3 French hens ornament, Ireland. So I changed it. So on the day that I changed the titles initially, the Fenton satin glass basket had 6 visits, 0 favorites. The Westmoreland basket had 14 visits, 0 favorites. And the Waterford bell had 2 visits, 0 favorites. 1 week later, I checked again. No change in the stats other than the Waterford bell had 1 more visit. It was now sitting at 3 visits. Maybe people aren't looking at Christmas yet, or maybe this title tool is not increasing visibility to my items. I don't know yet. Writing titles for vintage is very different from writing titles for handmade or for digital or print-on-demand items. Every word counts in our titles. We have, for the most part, one-of-a-kind items, and we want to give all the information that we can to our customers about those items. Remember, your customers will never see the tags, so don't hide an important characteristic there that should be in the title. And just a quick reminder, if you want to look and see what items Etsy has suggested and you just want to go through and look, make sure that you uncheck everything before you go on to another page. The message down in the corner should say continue, not save and continue. I'm going to try to get these all unchecked so you can see what I mean. Because if you continue without unchecking everything, it's going to change all your titles. So once you've unchecked everything, it should look like this, continue. Then you can go to the next page and keep going through all of these different suggestions. Sometimes Etsy's advice misses the nuances that we as vintage sellers understand. Story time here. When I was a new Etsy vintage shop owner, probably 6 months into my journey, I had probably 150 items in my shop. And I took the advice of an Etsy so-called expert who I saw on YouTube, and I don't even really know what she sells. I don't think she sells vintage, and I'm not going to name her here because I know she means well. But her advice was to remove all punctuation from your titles, commas, dashes, anything in there that separated words, because she thought the Etsy algorithm would pick up more long tail phrases from your title if there were not separators in there. And I bought it hook, line, and sinker. I went in and changed the titles on all of my items, and overnight my visibility tanked. My views went to nothing. My visits went to nothing. And it took about a month for me to regain traction on Etsy. And since then, I have slowly revised all of those titles. Once in a while I'll come across one, but for the most part, I'm sure I have revised all of those, and I don't have any of those left in my shop. But as soon as I say that, I'm going to find one, so maybe I shouldn't say it. I don't know. So what it comes down to here is whatever you decide to do with this new AI title tool, please do not change all of your titles at one time. Pick 2 or 3 items, pick 5, and pick from items that have not been getting views and visits. Maybe you can refresh something and revive it. The items that I chose to test this on are new into my shop for Christmas this year. And if I see that they are not getting any traction, I will probably go in and revise these shorter titles and make them longer again with more information for the customers. So if you've tested this new AI title tool and you can see some results, either good or bad, please put that down in the comments below so that we can all gain from your experience. And just a quick shout out, because if you may have seen it in the feed last week, but I did post a community tab message that we made it to 1,000 subscribers on this channel last week, which I'm so happy with this, because I've actually only been posting videos to this channel for less than 2 months, and 1,000 subscribers in less than 2 months is just phenomenal. I'm so excited as we go forward to keep sharing Etsy ideas and experiences with you, stories about vintage items. I hope you enjoyed that bonus video that I put up last Friday on candlesticks through the ages. If you didn't get to see that, I will link it right here. And I hope that you are as excited as I am about this new series that we'll be exploring, trying to train our eyes so that we're not so dependent on Google Lens. I started by looking at candlesticks through the ages, but I'm going to look at all different kinds of vintage items. And in fact, if there's an item you'd like to know more about through the ages, put it in the comments below and I'll see what I can do to fit it in. I'm going to continue doing Etsy tutorial content also, so don't be dismayed thinking that I am leaving the Etsy tutorials, because there's still so much to share. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sticking around to the end. If you're still here, I want to share what's sold in my shop this week. This is the cutest little elf planter. I got him last summer, July of 2024, in Flatwoods, West Virginia, at an antique store there. And he has stuck around in my shop for a long time, but finally he sold this week in my shop. I purchased this item for $19.26 and I sold it for $26. I had started out asking $38 for it, but as it didn't sell, I kept reducing the prices because it's my goal to not have merchandise older than 1 year in my shop. I'm almost there. The gross profit was only $6.74, making my gross margin 25.9%, which is far from the 60% that I aspire to. But I have to just come to terms with the fact that sometimes I just have to let it go, get my money back out of it, and invest that money back into more current items that I can hopefully make more of a profit on. My return on investment was a measly 35%, which is which is really far below the 300% that I aspire to. So we can't always make all kinds of money on every single item that we sell, but what I'm trying to learn how to do is to cut my losses, try to just get my investment back out of it so I can reinvest that money into items that will sell. Thanks so much for being here today. I really appreciate you.